Some bizarre happenings last night in Belfast that are being reported on this morning. A man has been arrested after a major 6 hour standoff with armed counter terrorist police in Belfast. So that's quite the headline. But when you dig into this, we're actually being told it wasn't a terrorist offence. Now, you're going to see a serious amount of police being deployed onto the streets and rooftops of this area in Belfast last night. There was a long, protracted standoff where a man initially believed to have assaulted someone in the street. A knife was found. He scarpered into a house. He climbed up onto the roof and he was there throwing things down onto the street. And we're told that the counter-terrorist police were deployed because they were the only people that had the capacity to work at heights. Okay, so they deployed all this manpower and all this weaponry and body armor for a man on a roof in Belfast. That's what they're saying. So I've got video footage here that's being circulated, and also the reporting that was done on this ongoing incident last night in Belfast. Details, of course, of the perpetrator are scant. At this time, police have been contacted for comment, but no comments have been forthcoming. So the headline again is police had received reports of an assault in the Canterbury Street area of the city shortly after midnight last night into the early hours of this morning. Major incident in the Canterbury Street. So you can see there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 10 police officers, and that's just from this still photograph, standing in their body armor, in their counter-terrorist outfits with guns. Of course, police in Northern Ireland are armed anyway, but these are additional armaments, and these people have been deployed because they can work at heights, apparently. So let's have a look at the video footage. This is mixed together. There's not much sound on it, but it'll give you an idea of the amount of manpower that was deployed for this man who apparently was operating just standing on a roof throwing tiles. This is what was deployed. So look at this thing here. So you've got an ambulance there. You've got these guys walking around in their tactical gear. You have this big armored vehicle with what will look like a platform on top. So they can access them at heights. Look at this. All this allegedly to get a man off a roof that was throwing tiles. Get the dogs in as also. Get the dogs in. This is this morning. Officers charging into the back of a property. You've got riot shields on the ground. You've got armored Land Rovers there. You had dogs. You had this specialist lifting equipment. We're led to believe all for a man standing on a roof. And maybe it was. Maybe that's what was needed. Maybe that's what was needed to get this guy off. But we'll look at the details that are filtering through here this morning, and you can make of this what you will. Leave me your thoughts, comments below. Maybe you're ex-police. Maybe you've got some experience in things like this. Is this overkill to get a man off a roof that was just throwing rocks down and had already dropped a knife on the street? Or was this necessary? Was it necessary? So Armed Response and Counter-Terrorist Specialist Firearms Officers, or CTSFOs, have dealt with a major overnight incident in South Belfast. Police received reports of an assault in the Canterbury Street area of the city shortly after midnight, so it all sparked off with an assault. While the incidents are not believed to be terror-related, the specialist counter-terror firearms officers were brought in for their ability to work at heights. You know, I thought the fire brigade would have been a good option there. They've got big ladders, don't they? You know, they've been trained to work at heights as well. You know, you could stick the ladders up. You could put a couple of cops in there along with them. You know, they're armed anyway. They could get up onto the roof there and bring this thing in. So we're told that they were brought in for their ability to work at heights. Not that any other service could navigate a set of ladders or just simply storm into the house and get up there onto the roof too. I don't know. On arrival, ARV officers recovered a knife on the street. There we go, a knife, with a suspect fleeing into a nearby property. Was it his property? Did he break into someone else's house? Again, details are scant. Armed response teams gained entry to a property in the area before a male made his way onto the roof. Oh, we're getting somewhere now. A man with a knife on the roof. No more details. As officers tried to negotiate with the male, he threw several roof tiles and parts of chimney pots at them, resulting in a number of cars being damaged. So he had a knife, he dropped the knife, he charged into a property, he made his way onto the roof, and according to this report, he was just throwing roof tiles off the roof and some pieces of chimney pots, with cars being damaged. That was the extent of the threat that's being reported on here this morning. And the counter-terrorist police dog units, etc., were all deployed. One officer was struck in the foot. Okay. At around 3 a.m., so 3 hours after the initial assault, specialist police negotiators arrived at the scene and began further attempts to talk the male down as a police drone hovered overhead. So they get the drones involved, they got specialist negotiators involved, all to get a man off a roof that's throwing down a few tiles. Okay, as the clock struck 4 a.m., so for a good hour, they were trying to negotiate with this guy. As the clock struck 4, the CTSFO officers from the Police Service of Northern Ireland's HMSU Headquarters Mobile Support Unit, what a mouthful, the CTSFO from the PSNI's HMSU, arrived at the scene in a Bearcat. I'm surprised they didn't bring in a bloody tank or a helicopter or scramble a jet. After long negotiations with the male, he jumped through a skylight before officers swooped. One man was arrested at the scene and taken to Musgrave Street Police Station. Police have been contacted for comment. Well, there you have it. This is just breaking news here this morning, coming out of Belfast. Were you in that area? Do you know anything about this? Were you kept up all night with the sound of crashing roof tiles, ladders being raised into the sky, drones flying over your head, police negotiators with megaphones coaxing a man down before he dived through a skylight, and the whole street being cordoned off with counter-terrorist officers? Anyway, if you have any information or you've any accounts to give on this, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Is this much ado about nothing, or is this something bigger that's being made to look like nothing? I suppose time will tell, but this is the news as we have it here this morning. So please feel free to share it wherever you like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And in the meantime, I'm Rick Munn. This is No Risk, No Reward Media. Over and out.